you on Facebook and out on our YouTube WNSTV channel. But we are going to talk a little baseball. Yes, they still play baseball here in Baltimore. And judging from the Ravens crowd on Sunday, the Ravens and the Orioles have that in common too. Lots of empty seats. Alan McCallum joins us live via satellite now on the backside of the signing of Wellington Castillo. We're going to say that a lot. It's a great name. I mean, I got to admit, when I think of all the great Oriole names from Sergio Robles and Drungo Hayeswood, Wellington Castillo's right up there. It's pretty good. It's top 5%, I would say.
It's a very, I don't know, I guess it sounds sort of aristocratic, but
it's regal. It's a regal name. Yes.
All right. Let's hope he plays as well as his name plays, right? So.
All right. Well, where are you on the catching situation?
Well, I said to you a while back that I'd sort of go with Caleb Joseph and I don't know, the son of Tony Pena until you can get Chance Sisco up here and ready. Obviously, they aren't sure that's going to happen this year, so they signed a guy.
Well, they spent $7 million, so I'm not going to dispute that. I mean, they took it seriously, right? I mean, they didn't say, we're going to cross our fingers and hope that Caleb Joseph can stay healthy and hit 214, right?
Right, and I, as I said to you before, it's not that I believe that Dan Duquette is a horrible general manager, just not a great one. He's never left the team completely high and dry through this period. Catcher is a position that people don't completely understand the value. Even the sabermetricians are still trying to sort of evaluate. Pitch framing has become the in vogue stat to look at for catchers. And
by the way, Buck Showalter does not believe in pitch framing, right?
The things that Buck says and the things that he actually believes, I'm not sure are always the same thing.
I have it on good. I have it from the inside. Okay, I have it from Buck's mouth to someone's ears, whom I trust implicitly that he thinks pitch framing is the dumbest thing to come along since whatever the last dumb thing that came along, right? Like the dumbest thing to come along since using your closer on the road in the bottom end of an inning. Another thing he clearly didn't believe in October.
That's interesting. It's funny because of all of the sabermetrics, I certainly think there's value in some. You know my thoughts on WAR and the like, but I think pitch framing is at the end of the pitch that make it a strike at the end of the pitch. And look, the question you're asking is how in tune in the moment are the umpires? I mean, that's what makes pitch framing relevant. What the umpires see, where they are, and how they approach each pitch is what makes pitch framing relevant. So maybe if he's saying it's more about the umpire, all right, I accept that.
Well, I was going to say there's statistical evidence out there as to which umpires. There used to be little note cards that Earl Weaver would have, or Jim Palmer would say, well, if I get Shylock on Tuesday night, I'm going to get the low and away strike on left-handed hitters, so I'm going to, that's how I'm going to beat Reggie Jackson on Tuesday night. The umpire is going to help me, because that's the way Palmer evaluated the game in 1974. Now there's, there are stats to back up everything about how umpires umpire, right?
Right, and I mean that's the relevant point. If the argument is that it's not about pitch framing, it's about stealing pitches from the umpire, then that's a different way of framing the argument, and I accept that. But I would definitely say pitch framing in theory is a relevant new stat to look at. But in any case,
okay,
I think that they did take it seriously. He's certainly a legitimate major league catcher. He's got a little offensive potential. How good he is defensively is up for debate.
And we're going to find out, like whether, how the pitchers handle him. We're going to see how the pitching does this year. He's going to be judged on pitching, right? I mean, in the same way that Matt Wieters was, and Matt Wieters came back, and Matt Wieters had a cannon, before his injury and all that. But from the bat, when you pull out the bubblegum card, it certainly looks to me like, and I don't know a lot about this guy, but it looks to me like they hired a major league catcher. I am a little dubious that no one would give him 2 years at $17 million or 3 years at $26 million or whatever the breakdown would look like for a player like him, or that he would want to 1 year stack his numbers at Camden Yards the way Cruz did, the way Trumbo, there's definitely some validity to signing a 1 year deal, and Buck is going to play you like a rented mule. Like literally, he's going to catch 141 games this year because that's sort of how Buck rolls, right?
Well, let me put it this way. I think there's certainly concern in the fact that he didn't get a bigger deal. And I think that is not about offensive potential. I think that is, in fact, about how quality a catcher he is. Now, I'm with you. I mean, I haven't seen him catch a ton, so I can't say that I have a formulated opinion about him. But I think in this era, people are looking at catchers, whether the stat is real or not. People are looking at catchers and what kind of job they do. And again, I mean,
but how much does a catcher really call the game, and how much do the sabermetricians in some organizations before the game sit with the catcher and say, this is what we're going to do on a 2-1 count with runners? It would seem to me that if your catcher's not the brightest bulb, that you call the game from the dugout, kind of, sort of, right?
Well, I think how involved the catcher is in the game is about how good the catcher is, and also what kind of pitching staff you have. If you have a young pitching staff that is still trying to find their way, then you lean harder on your veteran catcher. If you have, I don't know, Roger Clemens, Mike Messina, Andy Pettit, then the catcher just sort of puts the finger down and waits for them to shake their head yes or no. So, I mean, I think that changes pretty dramatically. I think Matt Wieters, early on, I remember the stories about him being basically coached from the dugout in terms of what you're going to call and where things go. And then as you develop and mature.
But why would you trust a 22-year-old kid off the AA farm to come in and tell, I don't know, Kevin Millwood or who was around at that point, what to throw in what situation, right? I mean, in many cases, you've got pitchers with hundreds, if not thousands of innings under their belt, and, you're not telling Mariano Rivera what to throw, right?
Right. And Wieters earned his way. Wieters earned his way with hard work and diligence. Now, how good he was at pitch framing can be debated. I know we've certainly debated the fact that the Orioles had their best year when he was essentially on the shelf with surgery for most of it, and Hundley and Caleb Joseph were leading the pitching staff behind the plate. So,
which shocked me that they were even on the hook for $16 million last year, but they were because they thought that he would sign somewhere else. I mean, he had no value in the market last year. He had none. If he had value, he would have had a deal, right? I mean, he was wildly overpaid last year, which is why you get a $7 million version of Wellington Castillo.
And quite frankly, his value in the market is in question right now as he tries to find the place to play.
I know what his value is going to be, whatever the contract says. We're going to find out exactly what it is, right? I mean, not going to take long. We'll know by Valentine's Day.
This is a tough time for him, and I wish him well. But the Orioles, look,
but he had an opportunity to prove himself. It's not like they didn't coddle him along or put him into good opportunities. Or I mean, he wasn't Johnny Bench. That's that, right? I mean, I have videos of me with the rainbow appearing the night that he came up in May. It feels like yesterday, but it's now half a career ago for him, or more than half a career ago, probably, right?
And he had a good career here, and he had a good year last year. Not a great year, not his best year, but he had. But
he wasn't a franchise savior the way we wanted him to be, and the way he was sold to us, quite frankly.
Okay, so let's get into it. What is Matt Wieters' legacy in Baltimore? You hear a lot of people saying he was a bust. You hear a lot of people saying he was
a bust means you never get on the field, right? I mean, and to me, he was a bit of a bust because he never did hit 285 with 29 home. He never ever flashed that he was going to be Joe Mauer, or you know what I mean? Like, and that's a shame, but he wasn't a bad baseball player. I mean, but with great expectations comes the consequences of having not lived up to that, right?
Okay, so if you were going to measure him against his Sports Illustrated cover, he's a bust because he's not. He wasn't. He's not going to the Hall of Fame. He was not the Mauer Tower, the all tools guy, who the all world player. The jokes about Jesus and Matt Wieters.
Well, the generational player. I mean, we thought he was Machado, right? I mean, and we now view Machado as now Machado might not be a generational player, right? I mean, he may fizzle, he may go away, right?
But his career arc is heading in that direction, right? So if you measure him against that Sports Illustrated cover, Matt Wieters is a bust. If you measure him against, let's say, a Buster Posey, who came down a little bit last year, but if you look at the first few years of his career, he's on a Hall of Fame track, both offensively and defensively. I wouldn't call him a generational player, but I would certainly call him a significant impact player for a team that's won 3 world championships in the last.
Which makes him a little bit of a generational player when you think about it, you know?
Right. So if you measure him against that, then maybe you can argue he's a bust. But
as Mike Messina once said, as Joe Flacco once said to me, we win a lot of games around here. Buster Posey can certainly say that Matt Wieters can't.
Now, the Orioles have won more games in the American League than any team.
Look, if Matt Wieters would have been drafted by the San Francisco Giants, Matt Wieters may have been that guy out there. In a different circumstance, in a different situation, a different organization. I give Matt Wieters great props because when he signed here, let's start with Mike Flanagan was still alive, right? So when he signed here, there was no buck, there was no hope, this was the last place. This was Siberia. This is the worst place in the world that you could have been drafted here.
Ness, this is what I'm telling you. If you're going to measure him against expectation and other players, it's a foolish endeavor. Prospects are just that, prospects. It means you don't know what they're going to be, and it's not his fault that he had huge levels of responsibility heaped upon him. Now he was brilliant in the minor leagues, so. I mean, it's certainly worthy to question why that didn't end up translating to the major leagues. But the simple answer is it's the major leagues, and it tells you the truth about who you are as a player. But if you look at Matt Wieters' career, and this is the most important thing in my opinion, when all those things were being said about him, very little was being said about defense. And quite frankly, that was at a time when I'm not sure people really cared much about the defense unless you were the elite defensive catcher. People just wanted you to sort of catch the ball back there, not have the pitching staff implode on you and put up some offense.
Look, I caught when I played Little League, right? And so I saw the game a little differently. And, catchers become managers, and they're the great observers and all of that. Joe Girardi being an example, Johnny Oates, all these different people that I knew who were catchers that you could sit and talk to. A big part of being a catcher at the major league level was always thought to be an even-keeled person to go out and calm down a pitcher and to sort of be the grown-up, as well as to be a good game manager, to be the smartest guy on the diamond, right?
And Wieters was all those things.
Yes.
Matt Wieters became all those things. So the first thing, and I think this is incredibly important, is that Matt Wieters was far better defensively than anybody ever thought of or maybe, frankly, cared about. When he was
right, we drafted him to hit like Mauer. We didn't care if he catched like bench.
Right. So you got a lot more on the other end than you were expecting, but offensively you got a little less. Not to the point where you're wringing your hands less, but less. That said, Matt Wieters won 2 Gold Gloves, went to 4 All-Star games, so he had to have been doing something right. Offensively, he was not an embarrassment, particularly if you measure him against other catchers. His power numbers were pretty good. He certainly, while not having high averages, he had a pretty decent on-base percentage through most of his career here. He had good at-bats without always producing the results he would have liked. And he became a leader on the team. He certainly, all the things you talked about, being able to calm down a pitcher, handle a pitching staff, develop your craft.
By the way, is he going to get a 1 year, $7 million deal? Or, I mean, is somebody going to give him 3 years and 20? I mean, I'm wondering what he's going to get that he may look back and he might not be a 1 year, $7 million. I don't know. There needs to be a seat for him, but wouldn't it be something if he winds up getting less than what the Orioles gave Castillo last week? Maybe.
Let me put it to you this way. Nobody knows where he's going to go.
But you're making this flowery case for him, and I'm not disputing what you're saying. And you're reading his Oriole epitaph at this point, and that's cool. But then at some point, if he has so much value, who's signing him? And for what? For how much?
Well, a lot of teams have their sort of their catcher situation in hand now, and you also got to have to bear in mind that some of the teams that probably would have been able to afford him are developing and rebuilding. The Yankees have a guy that looks like Matt Wieters when he came up right now, right? A young guy. It's not going to cost them anything for a while. The Chicago White Sox are retooling. There are teams that are pretty set, and there are teams that are retooling, and that kills some of his options. Everyone's talking about either Atlanta or the Nationals. Well, the Atlanta Braves, what do they need with a $15 million questionable catcher at this point in his career?
He does know the roads around Gwinnett County, though, so that is a benefit.
It would seem to me that the Nationals are a pretty decent natural fit for him. Having lost Ramos to injury first and then to the Rays, they traded for Norris, but they're certainly familiar with him. He's certainly familiar with the area.
They're familiar with overpaying too.
Right. If
they don't have Confederate money there, they're dealing in rubles there. Yes,
I would say his best career. I would say the best thing for his career would be to work out a decent salary and deal. 2 years, 3 years with the Washington Nationals. They have the kind of pitching staff that could certainly use a veteran catcher to handle a quality pitching staff and nurse along a bullpen that's in need of talent, maturity. You tell me what it is.
Grown-ups.
Right. To me, that would certainly be the right place. But yeah, if it comes down to him coming back hat in hand to the Orioles and saying, I'll take a 1 or 2 year deal at $6 to $10 million, then maybe the Orioles do bring him back and send Caleb Joseph down or trade him, and then at the end of those couple of years with either one of those guys, Chance Sisco comes up and takes the spot. Is that beyond the realm of possibility? No, I wouldn't say it is. But let me put it this way: I'm sorry for Matt in the sense that Scott Boras has this guy that I'm sure he thought, as the pundits did and Sports Illustrated did, that when he became a free agent that he was going to set the world on fire, and he can't even go out and trumpet the way he used to about what this player is and can be. It's hard for him, and I do believe he's earned more than that, but sometimes that's just not the way it works out.
Alan McCallum covers all things Orioles baseball, is our historian, blogger, conversationalist here into the offseason and Christmas week. And we'll get back into some football. We know the Ravens and the Stillers are going to get it on Christmas week here, but there used to be a hot stove, Alan, and we've talked so much about the Orioles fan base sort of withering away and folks not going to the games in the pennant race. We have the same problem now with the Ravens with empty seats and lesser interest. I would just say this with baseball and off season, I don't even need to talk to you once a week. It feels like there's not much, literally, and I don't just mean from the Orioles, but I know the Red Sox did a little something, but it's not as much fun as it used to be. It's not as wild west as it once was, and it's not as free spending, and every team's trying to do it on the cheap. Everybody's read Moneyball. Everyone has a nerd that went to Harvard that breaks down stats and pitch framing and all that. It does leave sort of a empty taste in your mouth as a baseball fan that there is no real reason to put on the Major League Baseball Network unless I want a Willie Mays highlights or something like that. At this time of the year, it's very quiet, right? And I don't sense that the Orioles are going to do much of anything between now and Sarasota that instills some sort of, I got to go buy tickets, or I'm going to get excited, or I got to go to spring training, or I got to be there opening day, until opening day comes around and you check the weather and you get a ticket and you go. But I don't know that there's any excitement building for the 2017 Orioles right now, right? As Christmas and Santa comes down the chute this week.
But before we leave, leaders, I just want to say one last thing that when it's all said and done, when people look back, I would say that the catchers that are most looked at as the greatest in the history of the team, certainly Rick Dempsey probably carries that mantle. And I would say Gus Triandos is the player that a lot of the old timers look at and say that guy was really special, and people don't know who he is. Certainly if you grew up at the time I did, Chris, you might have an affinity for Chris Hoiles, but he's not in that same discussion. And I think Matt Wieters is worthy of the discussion. Is he the best catcher in the history of the Orioles? I'm sure those that watched them win their last championship would say you're nuts because Rick Dempsey was special, but Rick Dempsey was never the offensive player that Matt Wieters was. So,
I watched Rick Dempsey play. I mean, he's a fine catcher, a great part of the team, and a different era of baseball. And yeah, I mean, I liked his catching a whole lot better than I like his broadcasting. I'll tell you that much, by far.
But, I wish Matt well, and I'm sure that we will have that discussion sometime again. To answer your question, look, I mean, it's frankly just about money. I mean, the money is so big right now, even with the revenues being able to handle them. I mean, it doesn't make sense for a lot of teams to go out and just spend. I don't know what Bryce Harper is actually asking for, but we're hearing numbers, and I'm sure Manny's thinking about it too.
The Yankees and the Cubs and the Dodgers and those teams are all going to be sitting there. The Mets, and who knows who else is going to blossom between now and then with some new TV deal, new stadium deal, new whatever. I mean, the Marlins throw money around like drunken sailors for crying. I mean, they're all drunk with money.
I mean, you're hearing $400 million for Bryce Harper, $500 million. Bryce Harper, you want to talk about not meeting expectations. I mean, Harper is certainly the guy that you compare to what Matt Wieters went through when he first came up. Bryce Harper has had one unworldly MVP season 2 years ago. No one would dispute that. But he followed that up with hitting .243. And if you look at his numbers before that, he's a good player, but he's no great. He hadn't been a great player until 2 years ago.
Great players don't hit .243 in an off year. I mean, they don't. They hit .265, .270.
Right.
If you're going to be a great player, if you're going to be a player worthy of the greatest contract, I mean, go look at A-Rod. For all the crap A-Rod got, go look at his numbers. I mean, needles aside and whatever, there was consistency there that far superseded anything Cal Ripken ever got credit for doing and didn't do, quite frankly.
He was on path to be the greatest player in the history of the sport, a guy who's putting up right field, Hall of Fame right fielder numbers at shortstop. That is unheard of. And he was fantastic. And if he hadn't gotten caught with steroids, I think he would probably be considered the greatest player in the history of the game today. And Bryce Harper hasn't been that.
And he is a good broadcaster, by the way. I like A-Rod.
Yeah, A-Rod was good. You're right. He was good. Bryce Harper, and then just talk defensively, he's got a really nice arm, but he's cocky and likes to try to show it off as opposed to actually playing baseball. And defensively, he catches the ball okay. So, I mean, Manny Machado at this point, as you mentioned, I think is far ahead of Bryce Harper at this point, not in terms of a single year number, but in terms of his career status, he's been far more a great player than Bryce Harper has been. So, I mean, but $400 or $500 million is the number. So, I mean, I think a lot of teams are looking and saying, I need to be smart with my money. I need to do things that are smart. Now, you look at what Dombrowski did with the Boston Red Sox, and he is a gunslinger and makes bold moves, but he can do that because his farm system is so strong. He's got a franchise where on his 40-man roster, he's got a ton of young talent. They have money, and trading four young guys to get Chris Sale isn't going to kill you because you've already got 5 or 6 of them at the major league roster ready to go that you're expecting to have.
Well, could they expect Chris Sale to go 23-6 with a 2.2 ERA at Fenway Park? Right, that's what they expect.
Well, they expect that, but that again, as David Price found out last year, and as I mentioned to you before the season started, that Fenway is a significantly different park, and as good as you are, that left field wall comes up pretty fast. Now, I will say this: there were signs that David Price's skills were diminishing before they signed him last year, and I think that showed up. And I think we'll continue to. That's not the case with Chris Sale. Chris Sale's a special pitcher. I think there's always concern that his arm's going to beat the pitch to the plate with the questionable mechanics he uses and throwing the baseball. But he's at the top of his game right now, and I think that he's going to very quickly become the number one pitcher on that staff. And yeah, I know Rick Porcello won the Cy Young, but he had a good year. That he's not a Cy Young Award winner. That's not who he's been through his career. But they certainly have a quality pitching staff right now, which they did not have. Starting pitching staff, which they did not have going into last year. So Dombrowski has room to do that, to make those kinds of big, bold moves because they have money and they have a spectacular farm system and a young roster, which is, I mean, that is Shangri-La in Major League Baseball. Just that they've done it, and quite frankly, the Nationals should be in a similar situation, but they don't handle their business the same way. So I mean, there are some teams that are set up to do that. The Cubs are certainly like that, but again, they have a great young roster, so they can make. They don't need to make big, bold moves. They can make slow, steady, right moves along the way. So I mean, it's an interesting time in the sport where sabermetricians and numbers will govern what's happening. And quite frankly, in the post quote unquote steroid era, as guys reach their free agent years and they're, I don't know, late 20s, early 30s, that's still prime in baseball, but the prime doesn't last as long. So as people are asking for 7, 8, 9, 10-year deals, which is just patently absurd, it's a time when you have to measure your steps more. So yeah, I mean, I think that there's some truth in things are not firing out of guns the way they used to 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. But
it's just not as exciting to be a fan, not just an Oriole fan, a baseball fan, just in general. The off season's more fun in the NFL. It's more fun, I think, for NBA people as well, and the NHL, where guys move around a little bit. And I don't know, it feels, and it doesn't feel like it's as everyone doesn't want it in the media, right? I mean, the owners, the agents, the players, everyone shuts up and goes to their room. It just doesn't make for a fun off season. That's all. It's
a time in baseball where prospects are more sexy than the free agents, and when you don't know who those guys are, it's not as interesting.
Well, they're sexier too because they're cheaper too. So yeah.
But that's the point. That's the point. They're cheaper. You have some control. Well, you have control in the sense that you don't have to worry about where they're going to go next year, but less control in the sense that you have no idea how they're going to play at the major league level. So look, the White Sox got the best minor leaguer there anybody can see in Moncada, but as it was pointed out this week, he had a cup of coffee in September, and I think he struck out 8 of his 20 at bats. Didn't look good against the major league curveball, and until you can actually hit it, you can't tell me that you're going to be any good. So I mean, there's nothing certain about a young guy, but except how much he's going to cost you. And when everybody is moving in that direction, you can be a little more okay with that because all teams are struggling with the same thing.
He is Alan McCallum. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to you, Alan. Enjoy whatever you're doing here this weekend, and I'll let you know Christmas night whether I enjoyed the Ravens beating the Steelers or not.
Hey, happy holidays to everyone. I hope that everyone's enjoying the season, and 2016 has been a very interesting year for a lot of people. And I hope that as it comes to an end, there's peace and joy and happiness and what's the word I'm looking for? Preparedness for 2017, which is going to come with its own challenges. So.
Hang in there, man. We got a lot of challenges on and off the diamond. Hey, we'll see you soon.
All right, man.
You got it. Alan at WNST.net's the way to find him. He's Alan McCallum. 2 decades in running now as I celebrate my 25th year in Baltimore radio. Alan's been with me for like 21 of those, I think. Yeah, 95. Yeah, that sounds right. Whew, we're all getting older, aren't we? Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, anywhere you are out on the world, you can find us. We stream live on Facebook Live as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. And anything you miss, you can find in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device. Just download the TuneIn Radio app. We come in crystal clear. Our morning newspaper ships directly to your email inbox at 7 a.m. each and every morning. That's brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Reminder, next Tuesday night, the 27th, we will be with Mike Wallace at Adams Jeep in Aberdeen, swabbing for the bone marrow registry and hopefully discussing a victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers that he hopefully has a big part in. That would be nice. I'm Nestor. This is WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.